welcome to another episode of Cafecito Tu Salud. This one is in English because we have a very special guest with us today. But first, let me say hi to Marta, mi reina. How are you?
Good, Irene. Very good. Very excited about this topic.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm also very excited. I have been wanting to introduce both Marta with our wonderful guests for a while. They are two of my favorite women in the whole world, so I wanted to make sure that you guys connected, and also to share this conversation with our community. So very, very excited. So are we ready to introduce this wonderful woman? I think so. What do you think, Marta? Are we ready?
Yes, ready.
Let's do this. So to our community out there, we're just so excited to be able to introduce Marlene Tagwerker. Marlene is a really good friend of mine. And when I met her, she was actually working on her, it was social studies. Marlene, please correct me if I'm butchering the name of your degree, but Marlene has always, right? Like it was social work and social studies. She has always been involved in that space. And she also is a wonderful steward and a wonderful ambassador for womanhood. And she also, outside of her studies, she does a lot of work supporting women that are in the process of giving birth. So we want to know more about this. Today, we want to make this episode about that concept of what does it mean to have a healthy pregnancy? What does it mean to have a healthy birth? And we thought about having this wonderful conversation with Marlene. Marlene is actually she's in Austria. We're here in very interesting territory language-wise. English is our second language, so we apologize in advance if we say something and you're like, "What did they just say?" So let us know. Write us those questions. We'll follow up with you afterwards. But Marlene, thank you so much for your time today. How are you?
I am good, and thank you so much for having me, Irene and Marta. Thank you so much.
Oh, no, Marlene, it's our pleasure. Yes, we can hear you. So could you start by telling us a little bit more about, because I was having a hard time like defining what you do. Like even from there, that shows that this is something that we need to talk more about. So could you share a little bit about the work you do supporting women and women's pregnancy? What is that work you do?
So basically I'm a doula and a birth worker, and I'm a pregnancy and birth coach. And I support women having having a birth that they can relate to and that they really that empowers them. And because you asked me before what a doula is, basically a doula is a birth worker who supports women during birth, but not in a medical way. More in an emotional, supportive way. I'm more like a server for the woman in labor, and also before, actually, also during pregnancy and also after labor, basically. But the most important thing is to know that we are not supporting. We are not supporting women in a medical way. We're not allowed to do that.
So you would be part of the team supporting.
Absolutely. I'm part of the birthing team. I think we are, like doulas are a really important part of the team because we are the ones who make sure that a woman is empowered and is we are basically doing what the woman needs during birth. Normally the father, or most of the time, the father is kind of, he's just busy doing other things, and a lot of the time he's also overwhelmed. So a lot of the time we also support the father. And, especially when the woman is not able to talk anymore because she's in labor, we are kind of their, we are their voice if they want us to be.
Wow, how cool. Cool. It's crazy because I didn't grow up hearing about this, right? Like that. I think that's one of the reasons we wanted to have these conversations, because how special it is to know that you can have someone that is an expert, that knows exactly what you're going through, someone like that by your side. Like, that's very powerful. And I don't think enough women know that is something that it's available for them.
And that is the weird thing, because we have statistics, and I don't have them here now, but I do know about statistics. And they say that women that are supported by doulas, or like the special birth workers that just that are by their side, and supporting them in what way ever, in what way they want, that they have like a much easier birth, and that the cesarean rate is a lot lower, and stuff like that. So it's like, and interventions are a lot lower than when a woman is not supported in that way. So it's like, it's not as common as it should be. But women always supported each other during birth. It's like, it's really like in ancient time, they always did that. But modern medicine, made that kind of, what is the word? That made that kind of not
obsolete.
Necessary. Yeah, obsolete.
Unnecessary.
Not necessary anymore. Because, so basically our work is, it is so important because we empower women, and what we see the woman as the expert of her own birth.
Wow.
And modern medicine does something different. Like you can't put every doctor in one bottle, if you know what I mean. But still, modern medicine has a different goal.
Marlene, I have a question. Do you said like you empower women, but exactly you can give us, like, in your experience or some examples, how do you empower? Like I don't know, if you could share some examples or.
Well, I'm an ecstatic birth practitioner. So basically, I'm not I would say a regular doula. So first of all, it's really important to know that for us it is really important that the women knows that birth is not a sickness, and pregnancy is not a sickness. It's like a completely natural phase in a woman's life. And like the common thinking about birth and the common thinking about pregnancy is, women have a lot of fear. Women are like, they have blockages, and they are kind of they have limitations because of, for example, what you see in the TV. Yeah, you see, like when you see a movie, you see women giving birth, shouting out loud, having like horror pain and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But what we do is, first of all, we just get rid of all those blockages, limitations, of all those beliefs, because that's the most important thing, to let the woman know that birth is something completely normal, and that the body is completely capable, the female body is completely capable of giving birth to a child if you let the body do his job, and if you trust in your body and trust in your child, because they two work together when it comes to labor and birth. So basically, if a woman is if a woman feels that she is capable of giving birth to a child and doesn't have a lot of fears, a normal birth is completely possible. A natural birth is completely possible. A beautiful ecstatic birth is completely possible. The most dangerous thing that can happen is fear. And if a woman is full of fear, a lot of the time it can happen that a woman is not able to give, is not able to let go, to give herself into the flow of birth. And what happens then is she creates tension. And then labor is a lot harder, is a lot more painful. So to answer your question, first of all, we get rid of the blockages and limitations and beliefs that are linked to societal, to the society. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we get rid of that, and then we do we do a lot. We have a lot of practices of, especially body practices, to make sure that the woman gets back in her body, because a lot of the time we don't trust our bodies anymore. And when it comes to ecstatic birth, it's a lot about, feel like, come back into your body, wake your body up, trust your body again. We do a lot of stuff, actually. Yeah, it's a lot. It's really important work, though.
Marlene, could you tell us what ecstatic birth is?
Mm-hmm. What do you think ecstatic birth is?
Well, it would be cheating if I respond, because you already told me what, and that's why I was like, we need to have this conversation, because it blew my mind. The concept blew my mind to begin with, but I can give you clues of what I understood if you all want to.
Like really short. A short summary of what you understood.
What I understood, pressure is on. So Marlene, please correct me if I'm wrong. But this is how she explained it. And to me, it was like, wow, right? So she's like, think about how babies are made. And I'm like, okay. So normally babies are made, and there's this concept of pleasure or ecstasies, which is, right? That's where I'm thinking the name came from. But again, I'm not the expert here, folks. So that's how babies are. That's how babies are created, right? So Marlene was telling me, wouldn't it make sense that just as the baby was formed, when the baby comes out, something similar happens in terms of that concept of pleasure and that concept of ecstasy, thinking that area of our body, it's able to generate all this pleasure. So why not generate that pleasure, or attempt to generate it, to relax all the muscles, to relax your body so that the baby easily comes out. So that's what I understood by ecstatic birth. And it blew my mind, because as Marlene said, I grew up around all of these concepts of the modern medicine, and how when you give birth, you go to the hospital and there's pain and there's yelling involved. And that's what I grew up seeing in especially in media. So I'm glad that you brought up those societal pressures. So when you shared that there is a complete new way of giving birth, that it's not connected to pain, but the other way around, that's when I was like, oh, that is crazy. So that's what I understood by ecstatic birth. Would you say that is accurate or no?
It's beautifully said. I would say it's a part of ecstatic birth, though. But it's a really important part, though. Just to, I think it's important to know before that ecstatic birth doesn't mean necessarily that you have an orgasm during birth. It's just really important to know. Ecstatic birth can be on different levels, emotionally, physically, of course, and also on a really spiritual level. So basically, ecstatic birth, the concept of ecstatic birth doesn't mean. It's really important that the woman doesn't see ecstatic birth as a standard, because otherwise it is something she has to achieve, and it puts a lot of pressure on her. She has enough pressure already, so it's more like a beautiful or nice goal to have. It's important to see it more as maybe not as a goal, but the word is more like. What is the English word? Let me think.
You can say in German. Marta speaks a little German.
No.
But really little.
It's not a standard. It shouldn't be a standard. It's more like
an objective.
An ideal. What?
Like objective?
Yeah. Yes. It's like just to know that something like this is possible.
That it's possible. Yeah. Yes.
So it's like, it's a nice, beautiful, an ideal to have. But it's nothing you have to achieve, because ecstasy is something it's really subjective, basically.
Okay.
So for me, something can be ecstatic, which is not ecstatic for you at all. And that's why ecstatic birth is a lot about the woman who knows what she really likes. Okay. So basically, and that's why it's really important to have enough time to prepare for that. Otherwise, there is too much pressure again. So basically, even a cesarean birth can be ecstatic if the woman is in the right mindset. So that's really important to know. But on a physical level, we are talking about experiencing ecstasy in the body while giving birth, because you said it so beautifully. What if birth is a sexual act and giving birth to a baby is the accumulation of having of sexuality at all? What if that's the high end? We never thought about it that way, but it's not a young concept. Like people in ancient times, they knew that birth is holistic and sexuality is holistic and sexuality is highly spiritual. But for some reason, through Christianity, of course, everything, all those concepts, they were kind of, intertwined. That's a word, maybe not, you know what I'm trying to say. So, and ecstatic birth is a lot about shameless sexuality, put that shame away from sexuality and let us, because otherwise a woman can't, let go. And it's so important to let go during birth. It's all about letting go. So, I hope that answers your question. Actually, I forgot the question, but yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. You respond to that question. And Marta, I don't know if you feel the same. Like the moment she said letting go, I'm like, let's dive deeper. Letting go of what and how do you do that, right? Those are the things that I would like to focus on, because I love how you said that it can also be that concept of letting go, of that concept of ecstasies from the emotional standpoint and from the spiritual standpoint. Could you share a little bit about that process of that the ecstatic birth about letting go? How do you do that? And what do you let go of?
What would you? Yeah, sounds good. Basically, if you go on YouTube and you check birth videos from animals, they don't have any troubles giving birth. Yeah, they just do it, and they know intuitionally. Is that a word?
Intuitively.
They know intuitively what to do. They just find themselves a place where they feel safe, where they feel comfortable. Normally, it's a dark place. Yeah, there are not a lot of hospital lights around them, and they just go there and they open their mouths widely. Normally, so I sent you a really good video about an elephant giving birth. It blew me away when I saw it. They just know intuitively what to do. But they are not more intelligent than humans. So basically humans, what our disadvantage is, it's an advantage in the normal world. But when it comes to birth, what our disadvantage is the neocortex. So basically it's the thing in our brain. Yeah, our neocortex is extremely developed. I wrote that down. So basically, it's a thing in our brain that that makes us study and stuff like that, to keep it really simple. But when it comes to birth, birth is really primitive. Birth is, you have to you don't have to know what you learned during birth. You have to remind yourself, or you have to remind that you are really, that you have power. What is the word? The nature power, the earth power in yourself, and that your whole body knows exactly what to do if you stop thinking. And that's what I meant by letting go. And what I always say when it comes to birth, so try to provide yourself with an environment where you feel safe, where you feel comfortable, where you can let go of everything, and it might be a similar environment to when you make love to your partner. And so there is a lot of, basically, it's kind of the same. And you should feel, as a woman who gives birth, you should just feel that you are like a strong woman, and that you feel good, and that you feel maybe also sexy, whatever you need, and most of the time, this is just not really possible in hospital. That maybe there are some hospitals that give yourself a space to do that all and to feel like really comfortable. But this is just, in Austria, it's not the case a lot, actually.
Wow, Marlene, that's really interesting. The things that you are sharing with us. I think the same happened in Mexico and also in US. I think it's like the concept. Talking a little bit about my experience in my first birth.
Yeah.
Well, when it's the first one, you don't really know what's going to happen. If I'm really sincere or honest with you, you don't know.
Absolutely.
And this is like my second, will be my second birth. And I think I'm more nervous about this one than the first one. I don't know, because what all the process and what it's going to happen next, like the recovery or the postpartum. I don't know what, I feel a little bit more with fear, fear. How can I say this? Like more
afraid, anxious,
afraid.
Yeah.
It's like the word. Thank you. So I think it's because of the process and so on. And also I think as a woman, you can define and also choose how to give birth. I mean, if you want to do in your house or like in this safe place, or also in a hospital or any way, to deliver. I also was talking with a friend that it's pregnant, and she told me like, no, I don't want to have like a natural birth. I want like a
C-section.
C-section. Yes. And I was like, okay. It's fine. At the end, it's like your decision, and something that I have like really on my mind. It's like the way you give birth need to be like the optimal, to be like the mother and the baby fine or in good condition, but also this part that you are sharing with us, I think it's really, really important, because I was reading that 80% of the birth process, it's like mental. It's more like that you have like the tools to be right, to control the pain and also your mind, because I could tell you that in my first birth there was like a point where things are going, the process is going like high. I mean, it's like more precious and more contractions, and in my experience, I do experience pain.
Yeah.
So it's really important that you are focus or concentrate, like in some point, but there are like moments where you, well, I was like, I can do this, like in these difficult times or difficult moments on the birth, it was like, no, I can't, So it's with all this experience and things that you are telling us, it's like, no, I'm powerful. I can. My body is, well, in my case, if I did this one time, I can do the second time.
Claro, yeah.
And I don't know, I'm like thinking out loud, how can I create those tools? Because as you said, it's really important that the woman give like the way to do the things, no? And each pregnancy, and I think each birth, it will be different.
Yeah.
And it depends on each woman.
I think I know what you want to ask. Well, basically, what I suggest every single woman know or provide yourself with a birthing team that you trust, and that you that you trust and that support you in the way you want to be supported. So basically, if you have I would suggest get yourself a doula. But if that's not possible, make sure that there is someone around you, even on the phone, that can support you. Normally, I would say it's always good to have a woman on your side that gave birth already. Yeah, because we all know that during labor there are some phases, especially one, like the phase right before the baby is born is really, really hard because the pressure is the biggest. And like I heard that from a lot of women. When you feel nothing is possible anymore and you want to give up, then the baby's coming. So basically, you just need, I would say, you just need someone who is by your side and who is telling you that everything is okay. And also, but also a person who sees that if something needs to be done, for example, if it's time for an intervention, a medical intervention, who also can support you by deciding that, basically. And you can also do that with your partner, just train your partner. It's really, really important that your partner knows what his role is when it comes to birth, So I just wrote that down somewhere. Let me just check. Chaya May, she's called Chaya May. She says, there are 5 things for birth you have to get prepared. The first thing is you have to teach yourself. The second thing is teach your partner. It's really important that your partner knows what his role is. Yeah. The third thing is take extreme care of yourself. The fourth thing is take the shit out of yourself, which means all the limitations, all the blockages and stuff like that. And the fifth thing is transform your pleasure. So just really, really work on your pleasure too. What brings you pleasure? Eat what makes you happy. If you feel like having an orgasm right before labor or like during labor even, do that. You might find out that that labor is improving, like the contractions are getting more and more, but that's a good thing, isn't it? We want to get the baby out. So, but like pregnancy is a really good time to work on your pleasure too. And like having sex in pregnancy is a training for birth. We are not in a position to train birth that often, but sexuality can, like, it helps you get, like, train everything down there. And the one thing that is really, really important is, and Irene said that before, birth is a sexual act. So basically, when you, and I just really talk clear now, when it comes to sex and you stimulate or someone is stimulating your clitoris, can I say that so clear? Yeah.
Claro, mija, no filters here. Of course, we gotta name it the way it is. No shame, and this is also a big part of like the shame, right? Because I think that from a cultural standpoint, why do we look at birth the way we look? Because there's just so much shame around sexuality built in. So no shame. No, we got to name these things. So please keep talking. Yeah.
Just to make it really short, just to give you an idea that like when it comes to sex and when it comes to birth, the same organs, the same body parts are involved, and the same hormones are involved. So basically, when like you have a foreplay and someone is stimulating, or you yourself are stimulating your clitoris is sending some signs to your brain that, you know, something interesting, something big is going to happen, that something, maybe a penis is coming inside your vagina. So basically, that's what happens. So basically, the brain is sending the sign down there that it needs to get wet, and that it needs to swell. That word, you know what I mean? That everything needs to get aroused down there, and then you are ready to receive, for example, the penis. If that is not happening, it's really hurting down there. And the same is happening with birth. You know, the only is that the penis is not coming from the outside, but the head is coming from the inside. It's a really huge baby's head. So basically, the more you are prepared, the more your brain gets that it has to send like a lot of arousal stuff down there, and that it has to like make it really wet down there, the better it feels, you know. So why not use pleasure as the greatest birthing tool? Why not use that? Because we are, you know, the female body is provided with that because of all the societal cliches and you know, because of all the limitations we got from the churches and from our upbringing and stuff like that. And it's not their fault at all, but still, it's like, it's just imprinted. And we have to get rid of that and understand that birth is a sexual act, and it's just, you know, like, it's just extremely helpful, and it's the greatest pleasure, the greatest birthing tool. It's just so nice to use that. You know, births are so much more fun and much more pleasurable, and such beautiful experiences. And as you said, Martha, before, it's just not. It's so important how we give birth, because Michelle O'Donnell says it. I just wrote it down somewhere. Let me just check where. Yeah, our birth literally sets the foundation for our health and well-being, or lack of it. And, you know, a mom that can like give birth in a beautiful way and feels empowered and feels like strong during birth, she is also able to breastfeed a lot easier. You know, the postpartum depression is just normally not taking place because she just feels, you know, empowered, and she just feels good about her birth.
That's great, Marlene. Thank you for all the things that you are sharing with us. Also, I was just thinking of something that Irene told me about to make like peace with your own birth, and also with something related with your mother. I don't know if I'm explaining myself. Can you tell us about that?
You mean like to? Yeah.
Do you remember when we were having this conversation a few months ago? You mentioned also that emotional piece, right? Like prepping yourself emotionally to give birth. Like we were talking about what is part of that emotional process of letting go, and you shared that piece of making peace with your own birth and your own how that took place, and that might involve kind of have a conversation with your mother if you can do it. But it's that process that piece was very interesting to me when you share that. So I think that's what Marta is referring to. Like how does that take what's the role of that process of making peace with your own birth has to do with the whole other process?
Well, we're just, you know, our body is like remembering everything. We have that thing called, I just try to translate it like from German. We have that thing called cell memory. Well, probably that's a thing in English too. So, so basically our body remembers. And when we are in similar situations, similar things can occur. And, you know, when we had when our mothers had not the best births with us, we lived through that too. And basically, even if we can't remember it, it's still there, you know. But so it's really important to, from a spiritual point of view, we are carrying the pain of our female ancestors in ourselves too. And when our mom and our grandma and the grandma, when they didn't have good experiences with birth, we can relive that too, if you know what I mean. So it's really important, from a spiritual point of view, to have a look at that part too. We have this thing called forefathers and ancestors. Okay. So that seems to be a thing.
Your ancestors. Your ancestors?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
So we have that thing when it comes to a spiritual point of view, we have that thing called ancestors healing. Ooh. So basically, when you heal something for yourself, you can you heal that for your whole ancestors line too. Yeah. So it's that's a really spiritual viewpoint, but still, you just carry that in yourself. Yeah. And if you're and as I said, the cell memory just remembers everything, even if it's not in your day-to-day consciousness stored. So yeah, it's really important to find peace. Mm-hmm. Also when it comes to sexual issues, because during birth, they just come up. If you have something that, just is not, you're not conscious about it, but it's still there. For example, some sexual issue you get rid of. So you didn't, didn't let go of it, but you just put it away, so you didn't heal it. Birth is normally the place such things come up. It's what it is, because all those parts are involved. So basically what you can do is, we have a thing called jade egg. You know what that is? A jade egg?
No.
Un huevito de jade? Like jade the stone, you mean?
Yeah. Well, it's basically one thing to heal your parts down there. That's what I meant to say. One thing to heal the parts down there on a physical level is, and also on an emotional level, is to use a jade egg. You put into your vagina, and parts in your vagina that are normally not touched can be touched through the jade egg. And those cell memory parts, that are normally not touched, for example, and so that they can heal, they can get healed through that egg, actually. So that's a really good thing. Jade egg, I do have a lot of jade. Where are my jade?
And how often when you encourage women to use a jade egg, how does it work? So they put it in, and then how long do they wait? Do you recommend also to have a kind of a meditation or reflection practice as they do this? How would that work?
Yeah, that's a completely different podcast. That can feel a completely full podcast, but yeah, I would recommend start with 10 minutes. It's so important that the woman feels what is good for her, and sometimes 10 minutes are enough, and sometimes this can be really extreme. It's also a tool to increase pleasure, how you experience pleasure, but also, as I said, to make you more sensible, to make you more sensitive for everything that is happening down there, and to get a feeling which parts of your body, especially in your vagina, need some more attention. You want me to show you?
I'm like, yeah,
yes.
look at those jade eggs. We can get you some jade eggs, Marta.
You guys some
We're going to get some shipment from Vienna. Marlene has some goodies.
Yes.
And we can start thinking like, I want to be conscious with Marlene's time. I do have like one more question, Marta. Also, if you have any more questions on your end, so we can be mindful of Marlene's time. ¡Ay, qué bonito!
This is the biggest one. This is the biggest one. It's actually not jade. It's another stone, but in English they say jade egg, and you might find it.
It looks like amatista. And it reminded me of another stone, but it's so pretty. And if you guys want to see it and you're listening, you can see it in our YouTube channel. But Marlene is showing us a very beautiful
rose quartz.
Rose quartz. Ándale. Yes, rose quartz. Okay. Makes sense. These have been used even like, I have the fortune of going to this Korean spa over the weekend. And I learned that jade has been used by their culture for its healing properties. So some of these spas have like the floor and the walls are made of jade, and you're supposed to be barefoot, absorbing the properties of these rocks, minerals. So I think that it's so interesting that so much of the way in which we can make all these processes feel better is going back to our roots, going back to the ground and going back to the earth, and things that like jade, like that's going back to the earth, right? Absolutely. And the earth's properties. It's so cool to learn how, when you think of like birth, I had this idea of like, modern medicine so important, but it's like after a conversation, I'm like much more connected to this idea of how do you incorporate all the natural elements and all the things that, even what you've been sharing, is like all these things are completely outside of these capitalistic society. All the tips that you've been sharing with us are things that we can do within our own tools. They are free, they're in nature. So that has been something very interesting too, that a better process for you to have a healthy, more pleasurable birth, they're already at our disposal, and they've been used for so many years before we were here. So that is very powerful to know, much more accessible than we think.
Absolutely.
Marta, what other questions do you have for Marlene? We know that you have some kiddos waiting for you, Marlene, so we want to be mindful of that too. But Marta, please, if you have other questions, I just have one more question, but I'm going to wait until Marta has cleared hers, because she's going to have her own birth soon.
Yes. Let me think. Or if you have one, Irene, go.
Sí.
And then I could think about.
Sí. Marlene, I'm just, as I was sharing with you, like, it's just so beautiful to learn more about how like healthy and more healing just approaches to birth, right? Like that has been it's been so beautiful. And one thing I want to ask you is, what can we do, and what have you seen within the work you do? Like how can we start improving the healthcare systems that we live in, so that they start looking at birth and like pregnancy in a much more holistic way, right? Especially like we're talking about the system in Mexico, system in the US, like that. It's not often that people, when you go to the doctor and you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have a baby, let's plan for my pregnancy. How can we make sure, what can we do to demand this change and like, or make it for ourselves? How can we make it so that we look at birth from now on from a more holistic perspective versus only that modern medicine, like very kind of like narrow approach? How can we change that?
Well, I think it needs like a lot of conscious or awareness building needs to be done. So like on a global or on a collective level. But when it comes to us in our small community, I think it's just really important to talk about it. You know, it's like it's just such a taboo to talk about birth, but like and birth as a sexual act in even more. So it's like, it's just, for me, it's just so important to talk about it and to let women know that there is another option, actually. And I think one of the two said it. It's 80% is your mindset, you know. And I totally can agree on that. If you say you have a shitty birth, you might have a shitty birth. If you say your birth is a good one, you have an ecstatic birth, whatever ecstatic mean. Yeah, we talked about that already. Yeah. You will have an ecstatic birth. And it was like, so basically I just have this really, really good book. It's in German. It's called Queen of Your Birth. And she says, don't plan. She's like really radical. She says, don't plan for a plan B. Don't plan for that. You just have a good birth. Full stop. So basically, just let women know that there are beautiful and other options, and that it doesn't matter, that it's really, what is the English word? It's just really, let me check. Okay, it does not matter how we give birth. Makes that sense? Does it make sense?
It doesn't matter really how, as long as we are in it.
No, what I meant to say is, so the German saying is, es ist nicht egal, wie wir geboren werden. Let me check. It doesn't matter how we are born. No, it does not matter how we are born. It does matter how we give birth, maybe.
Yeah, so it doesn't not matter. That's what the letter is saying.
It does not matter. It does not matter how we give birth.
Okay, so then the simple way would be to say it does matter. Like it matters a lot.
Let's make it more complicated. No, it's really important to know. See, that's what I'm talking about. I could have been more prepared, but thank you for having me.
You've been amazing. And we didn't want you to like prepare, because that's when things come out more naturally.
Yes.
So,
and honestly, the process.
So yeah, just let women know and show them positive films about women giving birth easy, not easily, but you know what, in a beautiful way. I don't say birth is easy. It's just really important to know. I don't say birth is
easy. Be realistic here. Very realistic.
No, it's like birth and easy doesn't go along, because it's like we feel the earth power within us. It's like, it's just a transformation. It's not about an easy birth. You don't want an easy birth. It's just not what you want. It's like a transformation to womanhood, like in a huge way. You don't want in like easy birth. You want a beautiful birth, a birth to remember. You know what? And that's just really, really important. Michel Audin is like this really old and amazing gynecologist. And he is talking about natural birth all along. And he also says, we don't want a gentle birth. That's not what we want. We want a beautiful birth to remember. And we want to feel the earth power within us, you know. It's a transition to womanhood, you know. Birth is a transition to womanhood. We don't want it easy. We want it like just amazingly beautiful. Yeah.
Wow, Marlene. Wow. And let me tell you that I was thinking to have like an easy birth, but with these things that you are telling us about a beautiful or amazing, that's like the key to have on mind. And also, Marlene, to close this wonderful episode, anything that you could add, any recommendations for the women that will have birth soon, or also for the recovery, something else that you want to add?
I think I mentioned it before, but I think the most important thing is that for your warrior woman birth, you need your warrior support team. It's like, I really have to say that I know maybe you don't have time to organize that anymore, and I just totally get that. But for women that have enough time, just make sure that you have like only the most supportive people around yourself that are willing to help you or support you in whatever way you need to be supported, because you are the expert, yeah, and you are the queen of your birth. So that's the only thing that I find really important. And train your partner, train anybody to support you in the way you want to be supported, because like your task is to just concentrate on birth. It's you don't want to be distracted by any decision you have to make. That's the goal. That's the task of your partner or your mom or your friend, whoever is with you during birth. Just make sure you have someone who is your voice while you are just concentrating on yourself, and you are more like in a meditational trance state, because that's your goal, just to connect with your baby and make sure that you get it out in a beautiful way. And for the time after, I would say, I find it really, really important that you also, it's all about the supporting, just do what feels good for you, and don't feel that you have to make mom happy who wants to see the baby, for example. It's just, we have like 40 days. They say it's like the female body needs at least 40 days, but more like 120 days to recover. And it's so important that you give yourself that time, and that you give yourself and your baby the time to get to know each other. It just takes a while, and normally we say not too much visits during that time, only like people that are supporting you, that are cooking for you. That's really good to have, just like a support team, so that you don't have to, to do the dishes or do the shopping for tomorrow. So that's someone else's task. It's just more like for you to recover, for your body to recover, for you and your baby to get to know each other, for your baby to get used to the new environment. Take it slow and do whatever is good for you, and and ask people to help. I find that really, really important. Ask people to help. That's what friends are for, and I think that's what also females like. That is how we can support each other, because we know how it is to be in that situation, and that's what friends are for. So basically, just ask.
Thank you very much for your time, Marlene, and all the information that you share with us in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
We are really, really glad and thankful with you, and we hope to have you soon to talk about other topic.
Sure. If I know something about other topics, I'm more than happy to come back. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, Marlene, thank you so much. It's always such a pleasure to connect with you, and I'm glad that you both met. And to our community listening to this episode, thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please let us know. We're in social media, and we're going to be sharing some of the nuggets of wisdom that Marlene shared during this episode. So we'll be sharing them in social media. I just want to, again, Marlene, thank you so much. Thank you. This was wonderful. And the work you do is so important. As I'm going to close with one thing you told me. It's like a healthy birth translates into a healthier world. And I love that phrase you shared. And I think it really starts, as you said, with these conversations. So thanks again. And to our community, we'll see you soon to have another cafecito. A tu salud. Thank you, ladies. Cheers.
Amazing.